The alien warship filled the viewport, its crystalline hull refracting starlight into 1,000 deadly colors. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel, his hands steady despite the 36 weapons locked onto his ship. The Zytheran Empire had destroyed 17 human colonies in the past month. Now their queen demanded an audience, and Earth had sent him to either forge peace or die trying. "They're hailing us again," Lieutenant Karen Wells said from the communications station. Her voice carried the tension they all felt. "Open the channel," Jake replied. The holographic display shimmered, revealing the Zytheran queen. She was massive, easily 9 feet tall, with 4 arms folded across her armored chest. Her exoskeleton gleamed like polished obsidian, and her multifaceted eyes reflected no emotion Jake could recognize. Behind her, a dozen warriors stood at attention, each one bred for combat and capable of tearing through steel with their bare claws. "Human." The queen's voice resonated through the translator, each word vibrating with barely contained hostility. "You dare approach our flagship with such a pathetic vessel. Your species has intruded upon 17 of our territorial claims. You have refused to acknowledge our sovereignty. Give me one reason why I should not add your ship to the debris field surrounding my fleet." Jake took a breath. Every military advisor had told him this was suicide. The Zetherons didn't negotiate. They conquered, or they annihilated. But Earth's resources were nearly exhausted from the constant warfare. Millions had already died. He had to try something different. "Your Majesty," he began, keeping his voice calm and respectful. "I come not with threats or demands, but with a gesture of respect from humanity to your empire." The queen's mandibles clicked together in what might have been amusement or anger. "Respect? Your kind knows nothing of respect. You spread across the galaxy like a plague, claiming worlds without honor or tradition. Perhaps we've misunderstood each other," Jake said. He reached slowly into his jacket pocket, aware that every weapon on the Zytheran ship had just focused on him. "I'd like to offer you a gift. A symbol of what humanity values most." "A gift?" The queen leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "What could your primitive species possibly offer that would interest me?" Jake pulled out a small wooden box, no larger than his palm. It looked absurdly insignificant against the backdrop of massive warships and interstellar conflict. He held it up to the camera. "This," he said simply. The queen stared at the box for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She laughed. It was a harsh, grating sound that made everyone on Jake's bridge flinch. "You offer me a box? A tiny wooden container?" Her warriors shifted, their weapons humming with building energy. "You insult me, human. Prepare to be destroyed." "Open it first," Jake said quietly, "then decide." The silence stretched for 5 heartbeats. The queen's warriors tensed, waiting for the order to fire. Jake could hear Karen's shallow breathing behind him, could feel the weight of every crew member's life pressing down on his shoulders. Everything hinged on the next few seconds. "Very well," the queen said, her voice dripping with contempt. The transmission cut. Jake's second officer, Lieutenant Chris Parker, spun his chair around. "Commander, this is insane. The moment you step on that ship, you're dead. Probably." Jake agreed. He straightened his uniform. "But I'm dead if I stay here too. At least this way, I get a chance to deliver the gift personally." "What's in the box?" Karen asked. "What could possibly change a war?" Jake smiled, but didn't answer. 10 minutes later, he was walking through the transport tube that connected his ship to the Zytheran flagship. The air tasted wrong. Thick with pheromones and chemicals his human body wasn't designed to process. His environmental suit filtered most of it, but not the psychological weight of entering enemy territory. The airlock opened. 6 Zytheran warriors surrounded him immediately, their weapons pointed at his chest. Each one was a biological masterpiece of evolution, designed for nothing but combat. Jake kept his hands visible, the wooden box held carefully in his right palm. They marched him through corridors that pulsed with bioluminescent light. The ship was alive in ways human vessels could never be, grown rather than built, every surface responding to the presence of its crew. Other Zytherans watched him pass, their alien faces unreadable but their postures radiating hostility. The throne room was vast. The Queen sat on a raised platform, her form even more imposing in person. Around her, holographic displays showed human colonies, military positions, resource deposits, Earth's defenses laid bare for her strategic planning. "Approach," she commanded. Jake walked forward, his boots echoing on the organic floor. He stopped at the base of her platform and looked up, refusing to show fear, even as his heart hammered against his ribs. "The box," the Queen said. "Present it." Jake held it up. One of her warriors snatched it from his hand and brought it to her. She took it with 2 of her 4 hands, turning it over, examining it with her complex eyes. The wood was simple, earth oak, carved by hand, polished, smooth by countless hours of careful work. "It opens," Jake said. The Queen's claws were too large for the small latch, but she managed after a moment. The lid lifted. Inside, nestled in soft cloth, was a single seed. The effect was immediate and shocking. The Queen went completely still. Her warriors exchanged confused glances. Several moved closer, trying to see what had caused such a reaction. The Queen held the box closer to her face, her mandibles trembling. "What is this?" she whispered. The translator barely caught the words. "It's an acorn," Jake said. "From a tree that was over 300 years old. That tree survived wars, storms, diseases, and human expansion. It watched generations of my family grow up beneath its branches. When it finally died last year, we collected its seeds. This is one of them. Why would you give me this?" The Queen's voice had changed. The hostility was gone, replaced by something Jake couldn't quite identify. "Because," he said carefully, "I learned something about your species before coming here. Your empire spans 50 star systems, but you've never found what you truly seek. Your worlds are barren, beautiful, advanced, powerful, but barren. Your people haven't seen a natural tree in 10,000 years." The throne room went deathly quiet. Every Zytheran present was now focused on the small seed in their Queen's hand. "Our world died," the Queen said softly. "Before we reached the stars, we consumed everything, destroyed our biosphere in our quest for advancement. We became great, but we lost something precious, something we can never regain." "Maybe you can," Jake said. "That seed can grow in almost any soil. It takes decades, but it becomes something magnificent. A living monument to patience, endurance, and hope. We have millions of them. Seeds from thousands of species, trees, flowers, grasses, things your people haven't seen since your ancestors destroyed your homeworld." The Queen looked at him, and for the first time, Jake saw something recognizable in her alien eyes. "You would share this with us?" she asked. "After we destroyed your colonies? Killed your people?" "Roop. Those colonies were built on worlds you claimed first," Jake said. "We didn't know. We should have asked. Should have tried to understand before we settled. The fault isn't entirely yours. We could take these seeds by force," one of the warriors growled. "You could," Jake agreed. "But plants are fragile things. They need care, knowledge, patience, things that don't survive well under occupation and war. We're offering partnership. Your empire has resources we need. We have life you've lost. Maybe we can trade." "Ennis. We canavai. We can trade." The Queen closed the box carefully, reverently. She stood, her full height towering over Jake. And for a moment, he thought he'd miscalculated, that she would order his execution anyway. Instead, she bowed. Just slightly, but unmistakably. A gesture of respect that sent ripples of shock through every Zytheran in the room. "Tell me, human," she said, "how many seeds would you need to restore a world?" 3 months later, Jake stood on the surface of Zithara Prime, the homeworld of the Empire that had nearly destroyed humanity. The planet's surface was a maze of crystalline structures and technological marvels, but no green grew anywhere. The sky was perfect, artificially maintained, but sterile, dead. "The soil samples show promise," Dr. Lisa Chen said, kneeling beside him with her testing equipment. "High mineral content, decent drainage potential. With the right amendments, we could start with hardy species, pines, maybe some drought-resistant grasses. Behind them, 1,000 Zytheron workers waited. The Queen had mobilized her entire population for this project. Every city on every world in her empire was preparing garden plots, studying human agricultural techniques, learning about concepts like photosynthesis and seasonal cycles that their species had forgotten millennia ago. "Commander Morrison," a familiar clicking voice called out. Jake turned to see the Queen approaching, flanked by her advisors. She wore less armor now, seemed less imposing somehow. Or maybe he'd just gotten used to her presence during their weekly negotiations. "Your Majesty," he greeted her. "I've received word from our outer colonies," she said. 3 of them have successfully germinated the first seeds. Small sprouts, but they're growing. Jake smiled. "That's excellent news." "Yes." The Queen's mandibles moved in. What he'd learned was her expression of pleasure. "My people are calling them miracles. There are already religious movements forming around the gardens. That might complicate things," Jake said carefully. "Perhaps." The Queen knelt, bringing her massive form closer to his level. "But after 10,000 years of emptiness, can you blame them for treating life as sacred?" "I'm me." Before Jake could respond, his communicator buzzed urgently. Karen's voice came through, tight with stress. "Commander, we have a situation. The Vrex Collective has entered Zytheran space. They're demanding to know why the Empire has suddenly stopped its expansion campaigns." Jake's blood went cold. The Vrex were another major power in this region of space. Aggressive traders and occasional pirates. They'd been quietly supporting human colonies as a counterbalance to Zytheran expansion. Now that balance had shifted. The Queen stood, her entire demeanor changing back to the warrior leader Jake had first met. "How many ships?" 3. 47, Karen reported. "They're holding position at the edge of your territory, but their weapons are hot." "This is because of our alliance," the Queen said. "The Vrex fear what we might accomplish together." "They're not wrong to be concerned," Jake admitted. "An alliance between humanity and the Zytheran Empire changes the power structure of this entire sector." "There's more," Karen continued. "We're picking up chatter on their military channels. They're claiming the Zytherans are planning to use Earth's biological resources as a weapon, that you're developing plant-based biowarfare agents." "That's absurd," Lisa interjected. "These are seeds, not weapons. To species without biological diversity, the distinction might not be clear," the Queen said. "The Vrex have even less natural life than we do. Their worlds are entirely artificial. To them, any organism is potentially dangerous." Jake's mind raced through scenarios. "We need to de-escalate this before it becomes shooting war." "Agreed," the Queen said. "But the Vrex respect only strength. If we appear weak, they will attack. Then we show them strength differently," Jake said. "Not through weapons, but through confidence." "Your Majesty, would you be willing to meet with the Vrex leadership here? On Zythera Prime? Invite them to my homeworld? You're asking me to expose our most sacred planet to potential enemies. I'm asking you to show them what we're really doing here. Let them see the gardens, the restoration project. Let them understand that this alliance isn't about military conquest." The Queen's advisors immediately began objecting in their clicking, chittering language. Jake caught fragments through his translator. "Security risk. Unprecedented. Foolish. The Queen silenced them with a gesture. And if they refuse to understand? If they see our vulnerability and strike? Then we defend ourselves, Jake said. But at least we'll have tried peace first. That's what this whole alliance is about, isn't it? Choosing growth over destruction. The Queen looked at the barren soil at their feet. Then, at the small packets of seeds waiting to be planted. Very well. Send the invitation. But Commander, if this goes wrong, the consequences will be severe. 2 days later, a Vrex diplomatic ship descended through Zythera Prime's atmosphere. Jake watched from the landing platform as the vessel touched down, its hull covered in aggressive angular designs that made human and Zytheran ships look gentle by comparison. The airlock opened. 5 Vrex diplomats emerged, their mechanical bodies gleaming in the artificial sunlight. The Vrex had abandoned biological forms centuries ago, uploading their consciousness into machine bodies that could be upgraded and repaired indefinitely. To them, biology was obsolete, a weakness to be transcended. Their leader, calling itself Administrator Prime, approached with mechanical precision. Its optical sensors focused on Jake, then shifted to the Queen. Explain this alliance, it demanded without preamble. Explain why 2 species that were at war now work together. Our intelligence suggests biological weapons development. We require transparency. You shall have it, the Queen said. She gestured to the prepared gardens stretching across the landing area. See for yourself what we are creating. Administrator Prime moved to the nearest plot. Its sensors swept over the soil, the tiny sprouts just beginning to emerge. Plant life. Primitive organic matter. This is your great project? This is our future, the Queen replied. For 10,000 years, my people have lived among the stars, powerful and advanced, but empty. These humans have given us something we lost. They've given us life. Life is inefficient. Administrator Prime stated. It requires maintenance, resources, constant attention. It is weak. It is beautiful. The Queen countered. It is growth, and change, and possibility. Things your people have forgotten. Administrator Prime's optical sensors dimmed and brightened rapidly, a sign of processing Jake had learned to recognize. The Vrex Collective views this alliance as a threat to regional stability. Then the Vrex Collective is welcome to join us, Jake said. We have seeds enough for any species willing to learn patience. The mechanical being turned its sensors on him. You would share this with us as well? Despite our opposition, the offer stands for anyone. Jake said. Peace is more profitable than war. Growth is more valuable than conquest. That's the simple truth we're trying to prove here. That's the simple way, Jake said. Administrator Prime stood motionless for 17 seconds, an eternity for a machine mind. Finally, it spoke. The collective will consider your proposal. However, we have detected anomalous readings from several of your garden sites, energy signatures that suggest more than simple agriculture. Jake exchanged glances with the Queen. What kind of signatures? 1. Unknown biological resonance. Patterns we have never encountered. Your plants are generating quantum fluctuations in ways that should not be possible for simple organic matter. Lisa stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. That's impossible. Plants don't generate quantum effects beyond basic photosynthesis. Nevertheless, our instruments are precise. Administrator Prime projected a holographic display showing wave patterns emanating from the garden plots. The patterns were complex, almost rhythmic, pulsing in ways that seemed deliberately structured. The Queen's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. Are you suggesting the plants are dangerous? I am suggesting they are not merely plants, Administrator Prime replied. I am suggesting that humanity may have brought something to this sector that none of us understand. Before anyone could respond, every communicator in the area began shrieking alerts simultaneously. Jake grabbed his device, his stomach dropping, as he read the urgent message from Karen. Commander, we have multiple distress signals from the outer colonies, both human and Zytheran. Something is attacking the garden sites. The Vrex? Jake demanded, spinning toward Administrator Prime. Negative. The machine being responded. Its own systems clearly receiving the same data. These signatures are unlike any Vrex technology. They are biological, in nature, highly aggressive, unknown origin. The Queen was already moving, barking orders to her warriors in her native tongue. Get me visual confirmation. Now, a holographic display materialized, showing feeds from multiple colony worlds. What Jake saw made no sense. The gardens they had so carefully planted were exploding with growth. But wrong. Twisted, the gentle oak saplings had become massive, thorned monstrosities in hours. The grass had turned into writhing tentacles that grabbed anything that moved. Flowers bloomed and released spores that melted metal on contact. What in the name of Earth did we plant? Jake whispered. This is not natural evolution, Administrator Prime stated. Something is accelerating and corrupting the biological material, transforming it into weapons. Lisa was frantically checking her data. The seeds were clean. I tested them myself. There was nothing unusual, nothing contaminated. Then something on our worlds is changing them, the Queen said. Something in our soil, our atmosphere, or something that has been waiting for biological material to arrive, Administrator Prime suggested. The Zytheran Empire spans 50 star systems, all of them previously barren. What if something was dwelling in that barrenness? Something that has been dormant for millennia, waiting for organic life to return. The implications hit Jake like a physical blow. You're saying there's an entity? Something that existed before the Zytherans destroyed their biosphere? A possibility worth investigating, Administrator Prime said. The Vrex have extensive records of ancient civilizations in this sector, species that came before any of our current empires. Many of them were biological, like humans. Many of them disappeared suddenly, their worlds rendered lifeless. We assumed they destroyed themselves, as the Zytherans nearly did. But what if something destroyed them? The Queen finished. Something that feeds on biological life, that perverts it into weapons against its creators. Another alert screamed across Jake's communicator. This time, it was from Earth itself. Commander Morrison, this is Admiral Peterson. We have a situation. Several ships that visited Zytheran space have returned with seeds as gifts. Those seeds are now germinating. They're growing wrong. We're evacuating population centers. But whatever these things are, they're spreading fast. Jake felt the blood drain from his face. How many ships? How many seeds made it to Earth? Thousands of plants across 17 major cities, Peterson reported. We're attempting containment. But Commander, these things are intelligent. They're coordinating attacks, spreading strategically. It's like they're planning. The Queen's claws dug into the platform beneath her feet, leaving deep gouges. This is my fault. I was so desperate to restore life to our worlds that I endangered everyone. No, Jake said firmly. We're all responsible. We moved too fast, didn't understand what we were dealing with. Then we fix it together, Administrator Prime said, surprising everyone. The Vrex Collective has experience with nanotechnology, with digital viruses. Perhaps we can develop something to counter this biological threat. And my warriors know combat, the Queen added. We can organize defense, evacuation, containment. Humanity has knowledge of biology, of plants and evolution, Jake said, his mind racing through possibilities. If these things are corrupted versions of Earth life, maybe we can understand their weaknesses. Lisa suddenly grabbed his arm. Commander, the quantum signatures we detected, what if they're not from the plants themselves? What if they're from whatever is controlling them? A central intelligence? Administrator Prime's optical sensors brightened. If true, that would mean a single source, a single target to neutralize. But where? The Queen demanded. My empire spans dozens of worlds. Earth has settlements across 10 systems. The Vrex territory is even larger. This entity, if it exists, could be anywhere. Jake looked at the holographic display showing the corrupted gardens. Something about the pattern nagged at him. The attacks had started simultaneously across vast distances. That required coordination, communication. He zoomed out, looking at the distribution of affected sites across three-dimensional space. There, he said, pointing to a spot that formed the rough center of the attacks. An uninhabited system between Zytheran and human space. No colonies, no stations. We always assumed it was empty of technology, Administrator Prime said. The Queen straightened, her warrior instincts taking over. Then we go there. We find this entity, and we end it before it spreads further. Agreed, Jake said. But we go together. All three of our species. If we're going to survive this, we need to work as one. Administrator Prime extended a mechanical appendage, the Vrex equivalent of offering a hand. An alliance born of necessity. How very organic of us. Vrex, despite the crisis, despite the fear, Jake found himself smiling. The combined fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the unnamed system. Human ships formed the outer perimeter, their weapon systems active and scanning. Zytheran bioships took the middle formation, their living hulls pulsing with combat readiness. The Vrex vessels held the center, their advanced sensors probing every frequency, every dimension, searching for signs of the entity. Picking up massive biological readings from the fourth planet, Karen reported from the bridge of Jake's ship. Energy output is enormous. Whatever is down there, it's old, and it's powerful. Jake stood at his command station, flanked by holographic projections of the Queen and Administrator Prime. Three species that had been enemies days ago, now united against a common threat. On Earth and dozens of other worlds, the corrupted plants continued their rampage, but containment efforts were holding. Barely. We need to move fast, Jake said. Every hour we delay, more people die. Agreed, the Queen said. But rushing in blindly serves no purpose. We must understand what we face. Administrator Prime's hologram flickered as it processed sensor data in real time. The biological entity on the planet's surface is ancient. My analysis suggests it predates the Zytheran civilization by millions of years. It may be the oldest living organism in this sector. How has it survived this long? Jake asked. By consuming civilizations, Administrator Prime replied. I have cross-referenced the Vrex historical databases. 23 spacefaring species have risen and fallen in this region over the past 10 million years. All of them developed biological technology. All of them vanished, their worlds rendered sterile and lifeless. The Queen's mandibles trembled. My ancestors didn't destroy our biosphere through carelessness. This entity did it. It fed on our world until nothing remained but us, and we fled to the stars to escape it. But you couldn't truly escape, Jake said, understanding dawning. Because you carried the memory of green life, the desire for it, and when we offered you seeds, offered to restore what you'd lost, we gave this thing exactly what it needed, a way to spread across every world in your empire. Using our own desperation as a weapon, the Queen said bitterly. It knew we would carry life to every corner of our territory. Then it's time to end this cycle, Jake said. We go down there, we confront it, and we destroy it. Easier declared than accomplished, Administrator Prime said. This entity has survived millions of years, consumed dozens of civilizations. What makes you believe we can succeed where so many have failed? Because we're different, Jake said. The previous species tried to fight it alone. We're fighting together. Biology, technology, and machine intelligence combined. That's something this thing has never faced before. The Queen raised one of her 4 arms. I will lead my warriors in the ground assault. And the Vrex will provide technological support, Administrator Prime added. Our electromagnetic weapons should be effective against biological targets. Humanity will contribute our understanding of Earth life, Jake said. If this entity is using our plants as templates, then we know their weaknesses, how they grow, what they need, how they can be stopped. The descent through the planet's atmosphere was violent. The entity knew they were coming and didn't want visitors. Corrupted plant matter, grown massive and hostile, reached up from the surface like grasping fingers. Vrex weapons vaporized them with precise energy beams. Zytheran bioships released acidic spores that dissolved the attacking vegetation. Human missiles screamed through the chaos, clearing a path to the surface. They landed in what had once been a forest. The trees here were petrified, turned to stone by age, and whatever process the entity used to consume life. In the center of the dead forest was a crater, and in that crater, something pulsed with sickly green light. Jake, the Queen, and a Vrex drone body containing Administrator Prime's consciousness stood at the crater's edge. Below them, the entity revealed itself. It was beautiful and terrible. A mass of interwoven organic material that defied classification. Part fungus, part plant, part something entirely alien. It glowed with bioluminescence, and when it spoke, the words formed directly in their minds. Finally, more food arrives. I have been so hungry, so very hungry. You've consumed entire civilizations, Jake said. How can you still be hungry? Because life is fleeting. It burns bright, and then it is gone. And I am left in darkness and silence. You have brought me new life. Life from a world I have never tasted. Earth. Such vitality, such diversity. I will savor every species, every plant, every creature. You will not, the Queen said, raising her weapons. Oh, but I will. What can you do to stop me? I am eternal. I am inevitable. Every species that develops biological technology eventually tries to restore what they have lost. And when they do, they feed me. It is the natural order. Then we change the order, Jake said. He pulled out another wooden box from his suit. You think you understand Earth life, but you don't. You've only seen the plants, the obvious things. You haven't understood what makes them truly special. More seeds? The entity's mental voice was mocking. Plant them if you wish. They will only become extensions of me. Jake opened the box. Inside was not a seed, but soil. Rich, dark earth from his family's farm. This isn't just dirt. It's an ecosystem. Bacteria, fungi, microorganisms, millions of them. They've been evolving together for billions of years, forming relationships, dependencies, balances. He threw the soil into the crater. It scattered across the entity's surface, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then the entity screamed. The scream was soundless but overwhelming, flooding their minds with pain and confusion. The entity's glow flickered and dimmed. Where the earth soil had landed, the alien organism began to dissolve, consumed by microorganisms it had no defense against. Earth life doesn't grow alone, Jake said. It grows together. Every plant supported by countless invisible organisms. Every organism checked and balanced by countless others. You tried to use our plants as weapons, but you ignored the foundation they need to truly live. Lisa's voice came through his communicator, breathless with excitement. Commander, it's working. The Earth microbes are treating the entity like any other organic matter, breaking it down, recycling it. And they're spreading fast. The Queen watched as the ancient entity collapsed in on itself, defeated not by weapons or technology, but by something so simple it had never considered the threat. Life defeating life. There is poetry in that. Indeed, Administrator Prime said. And perhaps a lesson. This entity survived by remaining separate, by consuming, without participating. Earth life thrives because everything connects. Everything supports everything else. The entity's final mental pulse was weak, almost questioning. How did you know? And, because that's what we're trying to build, Jake said softly. Not just gardens, but relationships. Connections between species, between worlds. You could never understand that. You only knew how to take. The entity dissolved completely, returning to the sterile soil of the dead planet. The crisis ended within hours. Across human and Zytharan worlds, the corrupted plants withered and died as the controlling intelligence vanished. Earth microorganisms proved to be the perfect defense, breaking down the hostile vegetation and preparing the soil for genuine restoration. 6 months later, Jake stood in the garden on Zethara Prime. Real trees grew here now, supported by earth, soil, and microbes, growing slowly but healthily. The queen stood beside him, her 4 arms gently touching a young oak's bark. My people are learning patience, she said, learning to nurture rather than conquer. It is strange for us, but good. And the Vrex? Jake asked. Administrator Prime has requested seeds for their worlds as well. Even machines, it seems, can appreciate beauty. Jake smiled. Who would have thought? A gift of seeds, starting a war, ending a war, and forging an alliance, all at once. Not just any seeds, the queen said. Seeds that carried with them a lesson about connection, about the strength that comes from diversity and cooperation. You gave me more than a gift, Commander. You gave me hope. In the branches above them, birds that had been imported from Earth sang their evening songs. The sound was alien to this world, yet somehow perfectly right. Life was returning to dead planets, not through conquest or force, but through patience and partnership. And across 3 species, 3 very different forms of intelligence, a new understanding was growing. That true strength came not from standing alone, but from standing together. That life was not a resource to be consumed, but a gift to be shared. The galaxy was changing, one seed at a time.